I'll never forget those final moments.
Into the transport! Hold the line! Bravo!
The way the world broke beneath our feet.
We haven't much time left. We have to take off now.
My comrades, my friends, still out there.
Fire the transport 4 times.
I was too wounded to even pick up my last pistol.
Radius down!
I swear I could still see Laz fire as the bay doors closed.
Take off! Take off!
They kept fighting.
We have troops out there.
I'll keep fighting. For as long as I draw breath, Cadia stands.
Welcome to Days of Lore. On today's episode, we will be discussing the origins of the Eye of Terror, the expansion of the Great Rift, and the current state of the planetary systems within the Cadian Gate.
I also want to take a moment to say that we're covering a lot of different things within Warhammer, but we're kind of jumping around in the timeline. So even as someone that is into the fandom and knows a bit of the lore, jumping around like this can be a bit confusing. So someone that's just jumping in might be more confused than I am. So we really want to, reach out to you guys and say, if you have a question or have you hear a name that you don't recognize, please reach out to us. We'd love to answer your question and just really get to dig in and help everybody get on the same page.
Or if we get anything wrong, please tell us.
Yes, please, because there's so much information that we are trying to compile, not just from these books, but also from old sources that I might not know have been changed, because sometimes planets can move, like the chin chair system.
Or there's lore that kind of has woven its way into the lore as a whole, but it's fabricated from someone's story that no one has really debunked yet.
Right. So just let us know. We're here to learn and we're here to talk. That's what a podcast is for. First, something that we have not done is introduce ourselves at the beginning of the episodes.
Oh, that's not important.
Welcome back, everybody, to Days of Lore. I'm Ian, joined as always by Alex and Asher.
Hello.
It's me.
Asher, what do you know about the Eye of Terror?
So, I think I know enough about it to know that it exists and that it has to do with Cadia. And I think we've brushed around the Eldar beginnings and this is where it started. But I don't know a lot of the specifics, and I'm pretty sure there's a big bad guy that's walking around here somewhere. But like I said, I've got a lot of pieces from this lore drop or that lore drop, but I don't think I have a consistent picture.
This man doesn't remember last week's episode.
Yeah, come on, man, keep up. There's a lot of big bads walking around in the Eye of Terror. One was born there, and then a few call it home. And we're going to mention a few of them today. So, to get you started off, Asher, I will tell you about how the Eye of Terror came to be about in the galaxy. We've mentioned this in a previous episode, but it's important to catch you up and our audience up on the setting of the 40K universe so that you can understand what we're going to talk about. We need to give you a little bit more information about the warp. Okay, so we've talked about how the warp is the anti-reality reflection of our universe. Almost every creature in the galaxy has a presence in the warp. Okay, I say almost. Necrons, they do not have a presence in the warp because they don't exist. They're just robots.
It's because their souls were eaten, if you remember, from 500 Worlds. Talked about backgrounds. Necron souls were eaten by the Catan.
And there are a few small races that don't have presences in the warp. But for humans, imagine us as a candle. Our souls, our minds, appear in the reflection in the warp as a little candle flickering in the wind. And if you put enough of us together and we all think about something, then we can actually manifest something in the warp. And usually if it's the warp, it's nothing good. It's usually a demon that'll come out.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Now, if you add a psychic human, or a psyker, as they're known, that's like a campfire. That's enough candles that have been put together in just one person. They're stronger and they can manifest things by themselves. And last week we discussed the Eldari race. These are the space elves who are pure psychic beings. Every single Eldar is like a bonfire in the warp. And a long time ago, when an Eldar died, their soul would go into the warp, kind of reconfigure, and then they would be reborn. Easy peasy, nothing to worry about. Like, they live forever, and then when they die, they just get reborn kind of into the exact same person.
Okay.
Well, if you remember, long ago, the Eldar and the Necrons were at war with each other. This was the war in heaven. Again, not getting too much into it, but we know that the Necrons put themselves into the Great Sleep, and this left the Eldar as the masters of the universe. So, with no one to challenge the Eldar or to tell them what to do, and with no need to ever work hard, the Eldar focused on pursuing their desires. And soon, like we mentioned, they fell into depravity and excess, and Eldar have heightened emotions. Like when we get sad, we cry, but when an Eldar gets sad, it's like they get thrown off the end of the spectrum. It is grief that they feel. When an Eldar feels joy, for us, we would just be happy, but when an Eldar is just happy, it's like ecstasy for them. Their emotions are so heightened. And so when they were pursuing all of these desires and all of these emotions were getting so heightened and heightened and heightened, and these are psychic beings, they're being reflected in the warp. Their collective souls burned together so bright that a chaos god was born. That's Slaanesh. And the birth of Slaanesh instantly killed billions of Eldar, and the Eldar way of life was changed forever. Because Slaanesh drinks the souls of Eldar when they die, so there's no more rebirth for them.
That is a bit grim dark, if you will.
Okay. The lasting evidence that we can see of Slaanesh's creation was a giant tear in the fabric of space called the Eye of Terror, also known as the Ocularis Terribus. That's the High Gothic name for it. And just like the Maelstrom that we've discussed, this is a permanent place where the warp bleeds into our galaxy. It's light years across and surrounded by warp storms that will tear any ship traveling in them apart. Now, Asher, and dear audience listeners, another thing that we need to mention really quickly is the Astronomicon. And this is basically a lighthouse that the Imperium uses that comes from the Emperor's golden throne on Terra. It allows ships that travel in the warp a way to see where they're going so they don't travel too far. You can open up your Geller fields, go into the warp, then travel as far as you want and triangulate your position with the Astronomicon. Because remember, just 2 steps in the warp might be millions of miles in reality. So seeing where you are in relation to the Astronomicon tells you how far you've traveled. The only thing that keeps the Astronomicon ablaze is the Emperor himself and a meager sacrifice of 1,000 psychic humans every day.
The Emperor's candle is basically the brightest candle.
Yes, he is the biggest candle.
Right, and these are like, it's a psychic lighthouse, right? Like you wouldn't be able to physically see this if you were just like looking. It's
No, I'm
something
pretty
that
sure
like the
you can
navigators would
see
see.
it.
No, I think you can see it.
Yeah.
You just look and you're like, oh, boom, there's a glowing light. That's the Astronomicon.
When you're traveling in the warp, you don't have to be a psyker to be able to see what's going on. But you don't understand what's going on, but
Yeah.
you can visualize like something.
But definitely when you're traveling in the warp, the Astronomicon makes it calmer.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions before we move on from the Astronomicon?
It sounds like a really cool convention. That was my first thought when you read it, because that's actually really fascinating. I've not heard of that before.
What? Yeah.
At all.
You ever heard about the whole concept of the Golden Throne?
No, I mean, I know that, yes, I know the Golden Throne. I know that the Emperor is there, like, after the events in the Horus Heresy, but I've never heard the word Astronomicon. I've not heard it placed in the lore. I've not heard it referenced. Out of everything that I've, like, read or seen,
Oh, wow. So, going back to the Eye of Terror, there was only one place where you could avoid the warp storms and enter the Eye of Terror. It was the only safe route into the Eye of Terror, and this was known as the Cadian Gate. And real quick, let me add a clarification. We are going to talk about the Cadian Gate, which is a region of space that contains planetary systems, but then there is also the Cadian system that has the planet Cadia in it. Okay, you got that, Asher?
Yeah, it's just kind of a zoomed out, bigger picture of the area.
Right. So you have Cadia, the planet, then the Cadian system, and then the Cadian Gate is the biggest area. All of this and the Eye of Terror are located north of Terra and the solar system. Okay, so the Cadian Gate is where the traitor legions fled after the Horus Heresy. So the Horus Heresy, half the Space Marine legions turn traitor, they invade Terra, they almost kill the Emperor, they lose, and then they run away. Most of them fled into the Eye of Terror, and it was here that they were corrupted by the warp and fractured into warbands. For the most part, the Imperium thought that the traitors would never be a problem again. They're like, hooray, we won. Everyone except for the Black Templars. We knew what was out there. One particular Templar, the High Marshal, Sigismund, he was like, brother, I know that these guys are going to show up one day. And they ran into that hole in reality, and I'm going to wait here at the gates of hell until they show up again. And he waited, and he waited. Over 750 years, the Black Templars waited outside of the Eye of Terror. Until finally, Abaddon the Despoiler, the first captain of the Sons of Horus, spills forth from the Cadian Gate in what is known as his first Black Crusade. And this is one of the first episodes, Asher and dear audience, that we are actually going to give you years for when these happen. So, hooray.
Okay.
The year that the first Black Crusade took place was 30,781. And this was a very bloody battle. It was Abaddon actually running away from another guy. And so he was fighting him, and then the Black Templars are there, and the Cadians are there, who are like, whoa, what? I didn't think these guys were real. I didn't think I'd ever have to actually do this. And the Black Templars are like, come on, boys, this is what I've been waiting for. It was a very bloody battle. The High Marshal Sigismund, well over 1,000 years old at this point, was sadly slain, but was able to bury his sword in the chest of Abaddon, dealing a grievous wound that did not kill him. Plot armor number 1 for Abaddon. Like, if you read the book, I think this one is Black Legion. Sigismund cut Abaddon in half, like top down, and he survived.
Oh.
But they gave him the old Star Wars treatment, and they're like, put him in the back to tank, he'll be fine.
Cheater.
Now, this was an Imperial victory, but the can was opened. The traitors were now back in the galaxy and tormenting the Imperium. After this, the planetary systems around the Cadian Gate were fortified against this new threat, and chief among these were the fortress world of Cadia and the naval dock of Bellis Corona.
I didn't realize that. Well, no, this might be.
Say it.
I was going to say, I didn't realize that the Eye of Terror had appeared that long ago. In my head, it was closer to the current timeline than it is. Does that make sense?
It's been open for a while.
Yeah.
It's an old thing. But it wasn't like that. Like, it was big, but it wasn't like as big as it is now.
Okay, so it just kind of grew over time as the warp kept seeping out of it.
They like to call it was like a wound.
Okay.
And it was just kind of like there. So people kind of like avoided it. It wasn't, they didn't really try to touch it, but it was like you could avoid it. You could go around it. It wasn't like seeping into like multiple galaxies and consuming everything. It was just kind of like a pulsating wound. But after all this stuff starts happening, it starts to like grow, and you'll see.
Okay, Asher, to answer your question, the Warhammer timeline, technically, we are living in it, you know? Like,
Right.
we're just in the 3rd millennium. So we've still got a little ways to go. The Eye of Terror does not exist now. But we also do not challenge any of the rest of the galaxy for dominion. We haven't even gotten off our own planet. So currently, if you're thinking about it, the Eldar are the masters of the universe right now, and they're out partying. It won't be until right before the year, like, we'll just say 30,000, when humanity finally, like, goes out on our great crusade to take over the universe, to actually, for the Eldar to birth Slanesh, because they're in control of the universe. There's no chance that humanity has, but once the Eldar birth Slanesh, that gives humanity the opportunity to go out and claim the stars for our own.
Oh, okay. So that kind of just made way for everyone.
Yeah, so I would say that around the 30th millennium is when the Eye of Terror opened up.
Oh, also a thing I should say is that while things only have presence in the warp, if there is a large presence in like reality. So, for example, Tau don't really have a warp presence. Like they have like a very minor warp presence, even though they have like they have system spanning like fleets and stuff. But they're so small compared to everyone else that like they barely register on any of the Chaos Gods radars. They are so incredibly tiny. If a human was like a candle wick, a Tau is like a single spark from like a spark plug,
Or like a little ember left over.
Yeah.
There is a book. It is a short story called The Bleeding Stars. It's a Trazen the Infinite short story. It was released in 2023. And
I love Trazen.
And in it, there's 2 lines that mention the Eye of Terror and its origin. And originally, it was opened by the old ones, which were what the Catan were fighting, the old ones.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Necrons were fighting. The Catan just kind of also hated them too.
Yeah, Catan and Necrons versus old ones, Eldar, and Orcs. But the old ones opened up the Eye of Terror, and the Necrons sewed it up. They fixed it. And then the Eldar, after the Necrons went to sleep, they partied too hard, and then boom, it opened back up.
This actually comes into play later too, because we'll talk about something. But there'll be mention of a certain type of thing that was around the Cadian Gate.
Yes, the things that we have mentioned before in our 500 World series.
Also want to make a mention is that I think we may have said it, but technically in the War in Heaven, the Necrons technically won because their goal was to basically just kill the old ones because they hated them. They like were jealous. And so when we talk about like the Eldar taking over, basically what happened was the Necrons won, but they were so like after doing that, they then used all their energy to kill the Catan, and were so worn out they just went, "We gotta take a nap." So they went to sleep, and the Eldar basically had no one that could challenge their power, and that's how they were able to conquer the galaxy.
Yeah, so they won.
Sure. Whatever you say, Knife here.
I mean, look, if my opponent in a race dies before he crosses the finish line and I cross it, I get first place.
After that opponent kills your parents.
Yeah, I still won.
And I'm Batman, so what does it matter?
Yeah. Sucker.
And then they come back to life later and you're like a quarter of the size you were. And they're like technically fine.
Yeah, technically fine. It's just a robot version of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Alex, are you okay?
Oh, sorry, I was just drinking a soda.
He's seething with rage over there. He's biting down on a leather
I'm
strap
just checking on
to
you.
not
Do
have
you
a
do we need to
seizure.
take a moment?
All right. Well, after Abaddon the Despoiler finally regains his strength, he and his forces of chaos launched more Black Crusades. He eventually launches 13 in total. And if you want a little insight into them, they each caused their own destruction, and some seem less coordinated than others, but most of them were failures and ended in defeat for chaos. But
Or were they?
or were they? There was actually hidden goals that Abaddon was trying to achieve. See, with each of these crusades, Abaddon gained favor with the Chaos Gods. And, more importantly, he was able to destroy black stone pylons across the planets in the Cadian Gate. It's these black stone pylons that the Necrons had originally planted millions of years ago to close the Eye of Terror. And so now the stage is set. The final set of pylons were on the planet Cadia. And for his ultimate plan, Abaddon launched his 13th and final Black Crusade, a full-blown invasion of Cadia. Just real quick, before Alex takes over the timeline of it, Asher, I want to tell you something about how slowly this happened in real life.
Okay.
Do you know when the 13th Black Crusade was released into the lore?
No.
2003.
Okay.
Do you know when the 13th Black Crusade ended in real life?
I feel like it was recently, right?
2017.
Okay. Somewhat recently.
So for 14 years, fans of Warhammer were stuck in this purgatory.
It was kind of a big deal because Warhammer for a while in the early, when it started all the way up to about what we're about to witness, Warhammer kind of was like, the whole concept was stagnation. It was meant to be like a stagnant universe where nothing really changed and nothing got better, nothing got worse. It was just stagnant. So what's about to happen completely shifts the entire galaxy as a whole.
Okay.
So for fans just getting into Warhammer, you're lucky because things are actually happening. Lore is being updated. People are moving around. That just wasn't the case for 14 years. I can't imagine being a fan. Actually, I can. Being a fan of something for 14 years and nothing happens. Welcome to the Titans Kingdom, baby.
Aren't you a Titans?
I am a Tennessee Titans fan. Ah! Ah! God, I hate it here.
Hey, I have 5,000 hours on TF2, so I know how it feels.
Push this crate to the other base. Now push it the other way. I'm on blue team. All right. Asher, Alex is going to take you through a timeline of the fall of Cadia.
All right, Asher, are you ready? This and the concept of everything is a major catalyst for where this the Warhammer story goes. Everything that you know currently in real lore was triggered basically by this one event.
All right.
So in the year 40,999, the fleets of chaos descended upon the world of Vigilatum and destroyed the Imperial battle fleets Corona and Sikaris. With no naval support, the defenders of planet Cadia, under the leadership of Castellan Ursakar Creed, dig in for the Chaos invasion. Now, you may have heard of Cadia before. Astra Militarum tend to have a force of people known as Cadians. They were... Basically, Cadia was a hub of these... kind of some of the best Astra Militarum forces.
Okay.
So they were kind of trained, born, raised, trained on Cadia, and then shipped out. Anyway, continuing. Archmagos Belisarius Call receives a warning from an Eldari Shadow Seer. If you remember what we're talking about, Shadow Seers are some of the psychic guys, and they may even know how to see the future.
And
He
specifically, Shadow Seers are from the Harlequins. Those are the ones that like dance around and do stuff.
Oh yeah, I like those guys.
Yeah, me too.
Call investigates a previous site of a Black Crusade and notices a destroyed Blackstone pylon. He realizes the danger that awaits the universe should Cadia fall, and he commits his fleet to its defense. Tor Garradon and the Third Company of the Imperial Fist then take the mobile fortress monastery, the Phalanx, to the defense of Cadia. They are joined by the forces of the Space Wolves, Black Templars, and dozens of other Space Marine chapters. I know he didn't write it down, but also I believe Astarath is also here from the Blood Angels with a massive force of Death Company. The Blackstone Fortress Will of Eternity prepares to fire its warp beam on the planet of Cadia, killing everyone. The only thing that can protect the planet is the Null Array Shield. To buy time for the shield to come online, Wolf Lord Sven Bloodhowl leads a boarding action onto the Blackstone Fortress. The boarding action fails, but the Null Array comes back online at just the last second thanks to the intervention of Necron Overlord Trazyn the Infinite. Also in this moment, there's a book, Fall Cadia, you can read it, but there's a moment in this where, do you know anything about Inquisitors? Just a quick question, Asher.
I know that they get granted a lot of power, and their job is to kind of just seek out anything that goes against what the Imperium is, and sometimes that works against a lot of what people might consider the good. Even I don't know, they're kind of a gray area from what I understand.
They're basically Spanish Inquisitors. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know of this one Inquisitor called Inquisitor Greyfax?
No.
Okay, so she's a big Inquisitor, but she has a model on the table. Well, before this event, she did not exist, technically. Well, in this one instance, basically, Call's trying to get this Null Array back online, and there's a bunch of chaos coming in, and Trazyn has this whole museum, but what he does is he has these little cubes that contain stuff. And so, funnily enough, he releases Inquisitor Greyfax. So the reason we have an Inquisitor Greyfax model is because, in this instance, Trazyn had collected Inquisitor Greyfax from a certain time long ago and released her here to help on the defense of Cadia.
Just dropped her off.
Pretty much. But she has a model, and you can play her in the game.
That's cool.
Anyway, you can thank Trazyn for that. Anyway, continue on. The Demon Prince Ercanthos assaults Khazar Kraf to destroy the Null Field. The Cadian defenders fight hard, and the phrase Cadia stands become known across the planet. The Null Field is ultimately destroyed, but, how we talked about earlier, Saint Celestine joins the fight and defeats the Demon Prince. Remember how we talked about how certain warp shenanigans can happen and certain individuals can come in and out? Well, when the Null Field, which nullifies the warp, was destroyed, just so happened that Saint Celestine showed up.
How convenient.
How convenient. Anyway, next, the Phalanx arrives in the system and catches the traitors by surprise. Combined assaults by Tor Garradon and Sven Bloodhowl are successful in disabling the Blackstone Fortress Will of Eternity. Abaddon himself finally joins the fight planetside, committing the last of his forces. Millions collide in battle and are slain. Eventually, the Chaos forces are driven back, with Saint Celestine delivering a wounded strike to Abaddon. Refusing to accept defeat, Abaddon the Despoiler commands his warpsmiths to hurl the carcass of the Will of Eternity into the planet Cadia.
Oh my god.
The impact, yeah, he basically just said, just crash into it. And this is not like a small ship. This is a massive fortress.
Right.
If you've seen the pictures of them, they're incredibly big. They're moon size, is what they state. The impact then boils the oceans and just breaks apart continents. With those Blackstone pylons destroyed and the planet basically destroyed, warp energies explode, and Cadia immediately becomes a demon world. A tear of unreality opens across the galaxy, also known as the Scissatrix Maledictum, the Great Rift. On Terra, the Astronomicon went out for 33 Terran days. The galaxy went dark. When the lights came back, the damage was revealed. Now, our entire galaxy is divided by a giant chasm of warp storms. On the side that Terra lies on is called Imperium Sanctus. On the other side of the Great Rift lies the Imperium Nihilus, which still waits to see the light of the Astronomicon again. 33 Terran days to not see your lighthouse is a lot of time. Right. That is a scary amount of time. It's like a real lighthouse. If that's a month of not being able to see a lighthouse. So any ships come in are not going to be able to see what's in front of them.
Right, especially because it's being used to navigate the warp, which is the, essentially most dangerous thing they're encountering.
Exactly.
And
okay,
well, it's dark now.
And it has just surged in power because of this Scissatrix Maledictum. So It not only is it normally not safe, it is way more dangerous than it normally is. And they can't see anything. No one knows where to go or what to do. At this point, technically, you could even argue that the Imperium was dead for like 33 days.
That's wild.
Because the entire Imperium revolves around the Golden Throne. If that goes out, as said by like Reuploaded Gilliman and like Dante, Commander Dante, if the light goes out, then there's nothing. I mean, Imperium Nihilus literally means nothing. So
right. Oh, so it's just the nothing trapped on the other side.
Exactly, because they can't see the Astronomicon. So, with Cadia destroyed, Abaddon then turns his attention towards the Noctman Gauntlet, one of the only safe routes between Imperium Sanctus and Nihilus. It's the only route that connects the two. He leaves the cleansing of the Cadian system to Black Legion warlord Iordax Quan. Traitors spew from the Eye of Terror. The entire Cadian Gate is under invasion from demons and traitors. Fortresses like Bellis Corona are fortified even more, hoping to hold out until Imperial reinforcements can arrive. There's a lot of stuff also that happens at this exact same time. While this is happening, Baal is also getting invaded by Tyranids on the other side. Reuploaded Gilliman, I don't think has been revived yet. Not yet. So this was a very dark time in the Imperium's history. It was basically a catastrophe.
You mentioned the Tyranids started invading. Was that because this happened? That they were able to start gaining ground? Or was that its own thing that was going to happen regardless?
So I'll kind of explain it. Long story short, the devastation of Baal. The Baal is the Blood Angel's home planet. It's actually a few systems. The Tyranids had already been invading the systems. It was the Leviathan tendril. So it had already been invading a few systems, and Dante and the Blood Angels were having to protect it. This was another instance where Dante basically said, I don't care what's going on. We need all the successors here. And even that was another instance where the High Lords were like, that's very suspicious. You can't be doing that.
Right.
But he needed everyone to defend. And I did mention that Asterath was over in Cadia. He was not able to be over there with Baal. But the Tyranids basically, while this 13th Black Crusade was happening, at the exact same time, Tyranids were invading the planet Baal Primus, which was the Blood Angels' homeworld. And the Blood Angels were losing. Like, they were about to go extinct. So much so that at one point, Dante basically gathered everyone together who was left and just said, we're going to take some paint. We're painting all of our armor black, and we're going out as the Death Company. And basically was one final sacrifice to attempt to kill as many Tyranids as possible. It just so happened that as soon as he fought the Swarm Lord that was there, the Scissatrix Maledictum opened. And as soon as that happened, it severed the tentacle. Because remember, I did mention earlier that Tyranids have the shadow in the warp, which basically, a long story short, blocks out any warp. It's kind of like the nullification field, but it's Tyranid's own personal thing. It's a little shadow. It's literally a shadow that you can't see anything through. So any warp stuff just did not work getting through. How we talked about the phones, like Psychers couldn't send messages because it's like someone severed a phone line. So basically the Blood Angels were on their own. But as soon as the Sizzadrix Maledictum opened, it basically severed that shadow, meaning they could see out again. And that's why the Sanguinor arrived, and they were able to get reinforcements. But at the same time, like there was a lot going on in the galaxy at this one time. Like you had the Eye of Terror that was about to blow open. The planet of the Blood Angels was about to be completely annihilated by Tyranids. And so it was like, oh, what's going to happen? Because that's two big things happening at the same time. And
I think
like
rough
we
time
said,
is an understatement.
yeah, it's a pretty rough time. I feel like there was a lot going on. Those were the two big things that were happening side by side. It was cool too because during the Eye of Terra, as a Blood Angel player, what Ashrath took, his whatever force he had, when Chaos kind of exploded, a lot of his guys had like gone into the Black Rage, or at least a really, really deep version of the Red Thirst, and had basically gone crazy. Like when Sanguinius was killed on the Vengeful Spirit back in the Horus Heresy. It was like a repeat.
I cannot wait to talk about your chapter eventually and like really break down a lot of your lore.
The Blood Angels.
I know that like, everything is like I'm paying attention obviously, but you're throwing out a lot of stuff that like has a lot of like deep lore on your side.
Yeah,
I'm just
kind of
dig into it.
I'm kind of just talking about like because I like nerding out about this, like Ian nerds out about Black Templar stuff. But I like the reason why I love Blood Angels is because I know people say salamanders are like the most like humanitarian, but I really think Blood Angels are, because Blood Angels have this tendency of they're angels, so they always are represented as an angel figure because their whole concept is they are saviors of humanity. If they can save people, they will try their hardest to save them, and they recognize people trying their best to do whatever they can. There's a really cool snippet where Commander Dante tries to save an entire Astra Militarum force, and he gets as many survivors as he can off this planet that he has to exterminatus, and gets them on the ship. And the first thing he does when everything's cleared or everything's fine and he's gotten the count and everything is he goes, all right, all you Astra Militarum guys, you are the the Emperor's, are they called the Emperor's sword, or there's a name that they get?
The Hammer of the Emperor?
Hammer of the Emperor, thank you. They are the Hammer of the Emperor. They are what Space Marines are meant to do. They're meant to save humans. They are the saviors. They are the angels. So Dante was like, all these humans, go into our banquet room. We will prepare food for you. We will prepare bedding for you. Let us, the Blood Angels, clean up the mess. You guys need to clear your heads and go relax. And they will literally give them the best possible care they can.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you there, but I was just the amount of stuff that you've got, I just can't wait to dig into it.
There's a lot, and we'll talk a little bit about when we eventually get to Armageddon.
All right, Asher, what did you think about the fall of Cadia?
It's interesting that they keep talking about, I guess the secret missions were actually successes, but it was failure after failure after failure. So I guess it probably was very crushing for them to realize oh, we were never winning.
Yeah.
It was really just it was getting swept out from underneath us because we thought we were throwing them back every time, but all they were doing was exactly what they wanted to, and we weren't doing anything.
I think a little nice piece of kind of meta lore, which is kind of interesting, is the Warhammer is written from the perspective of the Imperium. Mm-hmm. So all their stuff that you see is all written from someone writing it as if they were writing it down for a library. like whatever knowledge they know. So from our perspective, yeah, it looked like losses, but from their perspective, it was victories.
Right.
So we only knew it as losses because that's how we wrote it.
The only one that we chalked up to a chaos victory was the 5th Black Crusade, which, if you look at it, Abaddon was trying to gain the favor of Khorne, and one of the Chaos Gods, and he wanted to have a demon prince join his side. And the only way that the demon prince would join his side is Abaddon promised him the blood of 2 Space Marine chapters. And in this one fight, I think it was a very small contingent of the Astral Claws.
Our buddies from the Bad Air War.
There were a few others, and then the Space Marine chapters of the Warhawks and the Venerators. And this demon prince, his name was Doombreed. This demon prince is actually older than the Imperium. And the Black Legion trapped these 2 Space Marine chapters on this planet, and Doombreed, this giant chaos demon prince, showed up and just carved through both of these Space Marine chapters, because both chapters showed up in chapter Force.
Oh, yeah.
It rarely happens too. So
Yeah. So both chapters were destroyed. Blood Angels were also there. Didn't do a thing, as always.
of course.
Easy. Easy.
He's black raging. Well, it's time to tell you about the planets that are left after the fall of Cadia. Because we need to... That was old lore. It's time to get you up to date on the current state of the region. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Well, the first planetary system that we're going to talk about is Cadia. There are 8 planetary systems within the Cadian Gate. There's a few more within the Eye of Terror, but we'll talk about those. So the first one is the Cadian system. And since the fall of Cadia, very little remains in Imperial hands. There are 8 planets remaining in the Cadian system. Okay, keyword remaining. It gets a little weird. As we talk about these systems, we're going to talk about the planets closest to the sun and then going out. First off, let's talk about that sun. It may or may not be alive. We don't know.
Okay.
In the book, it mentions in the Cadian system, it labels the star Warp Star. Sentient? ?
Okay.
So I don't know what's going on there. Then the closest planet to Cadia's sun is Prosan. This planet is dead and scoured. Nothing is left. Corollas is next, but it's just as ruined. Okay, so then we move on to the planet of Kasser Sonen. And this is a warp-saturated world that still stands as a Cadian holdout, but it's seen its better days. The 4th planet from the sun is Cadia. And unfortunately, this is a demon world. Rest in peace, Cadia.
So, okay, this kind of leads me to 2 questions because you mentioned that. That'll be my second one. So the planet wasn't like, it says it was destroyed, in quotation, but I mean, it's still there. It didn't just like, it didn't get Alderaan, by the Death Star. It's still there, but it's just completely taken over by demons.
I forget what TV show it is, but there's a cartoon that like the moon gets blown up to a certain extent that it becomes a crescent moon, and so every time you see it afterwards, it's just a crescent moon. But it's not because it's a crescent moon. That's all that's left. I think that's kind of what Cadia is happening right now.
Okay.
There's a planet in Star Wars 2 that looks kind of like an hourglass. And it's like the city is in the core of it. I think it's in the movie Rogue One. Cadia is still labeled as a world. It's very broken. Don't get me wrong. There are chunks flying out.
There's a Blackstone Fortress in it.
Yeah. And so
Right.
I have a moon-sized spaceship. I have a planet. Demon world.
Okay. And then my second, I guess, leading question, because we mentioned Cadia stands earlier and how that was a kind of a battle cry that rang around the planet during this 13th Crusade. Now, this is something that is still around because you mentioned, like, this is something I'm familiar with, where the planet fell before the guard did. So even though the Cadia doesn't, like, it's gone, the term Cadia stands still floats around.
Yes, because the spirit of Cadia is still there.
And there's kind of a you can even chalk this up to like kind of a morale, kind of what's it called, propaganda kind of style. But there's a kind of story that goes around in the world of Warhammer where while they were evacuating from the planet, they looked out the windows and saw there was still, even while the planet was exploding from the Blackstone Fortress that crashed into it, they could still see las gun fire on the surface, meaning that the planet fell before the guard did.
Wow.
Yeah. And even though Cadia, the planet itself, is no longer there is a new Cadia, and there are still planets that Cadians still use as recruitment worlds. Because, technically, if you're from Castor Sonnen, that I just mentioned, Stronghold, could be a recruiting world. You're still in the Cadian system, so you can call yourself Cadian.
Right.
It's just like the Tennessee Titans, still wearing the Houston Oilers stuff. It's like, yeah, this is our heritage. Even though we move, we still keep the colors, we still keep the record. Like, it's us.
Another thing too is Cadians. If you ever see them up close, people who are from actual Cadia have purple irises due to the warp entities.
I was just about to mention that.
Yeah,
that it's because they're so close to the warp.
I think in the Pariah Nexus show that came out, there is a Necron Deathmark that kills 3 guardsmen, and if you look at one of them, he has purple eyes. So he was a real Cadian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, real Cadians have the purple eyes.
But it's just from the physical planet Cadia that have the purple eyes. And it's just from how close they were
to the warp.
To the Eye of Terror.
To the Eye of Terror, staring at it.
Yeah. It's basically just a genetic thing for being that close to a psychic wound, basically.
Yeah.
So after Cadia, next is Macaria. And this is a mutated world, but it's another Cadian holdout and is also the largest planet in the system. Vigilatum is next. This was the former staging ground for the Corona and Scarus battle fleets, and it is now out of phase. So it's kind of been kicked out of its orbit where it's supposed to be. The next 2 planets that we have actually been so mutated by the warp that they have melded together into one demon world.
Okay.
And these are Casser Partox and Solar Mariatis. So there's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 planets. I've technically mentioned 9 if you count Castor Partox and Solar Mariatis. But there used to be a 10th planet, and this was Saint Josmin's Hope. And all that remains of this planet is a debris field.
Oh, so there is an Alderaan.
Yes. After that, there's kind of a Pluto situation going on with the planet Claisis. This moon/planet is the farthest from the Cadian sun, and it was used as a refuge from the 13th Black Crusade. There's even a webway portal on this planet that the Eldar Yvrain used to help the Imperium forces escape chaos. So the Eldar were actively helping humans fight chaos.
That's cool.
And there's some really cool art of it. There was a Warhammer community article that came out in late 2025 called Eldar Art Through the Ages. And one of it shows this webway portal being opened. You have a line of Tempestus Scions being backed up by Dire Avengers, Howling Banshees, Yvrain herself, a Wraith Titan, and the Vizark from Eldar lore.
That's really cool. That is a really, really cool image.
Yeah. Alex, do you want to tell us about the Bellis Corona system?
No.
All right.
Okay. How?
I
the
gave you
Bellis
this one
system-
for a reason.
I know. Despite how badly the Cadian system is doing, the Bellis Corona system has even fewer planets under Imperial control. It's almost entirely under Traitor Space Marine control. The planet Antar is engulfed in flames. Gildarius is firmly under the control of the Death Guard. Bellissimar has been transformed into a pleasure world by the Emperor's children. Bellis Corona is an Imperial naval base, but is currently under siege. Laurentix is a stronghold for the Iron Warriors that fell to them within months of the fall of Cadia. The entire planet has been changed into a staging ground for invasion and is ruled by the Iron Warriors' warsmith, Gravox. The forests have been shredded down and the mountains grounded to rubble. The world has been torn open so that generators and demon engines can be powered by the heat from geothermal vents and lava flows. In orbit above Laurentix is the Decarion Anchorage, a massive docking station the size of an Imperial star fort. The station is controlled by an abominable intelligence. The Imperium's word for artificial intelligence. The station is also overseen by 3 warpsmiths who all hate each other, and the AI is always trying to goad them into killing each other so it can take over and escape. Because AI, in the 40k universe, is always trying to destroy humanity. The last landscape on Laurentix is the Mons Malefica, Warsmith Gravox's strategic fortress. From here, dozens of demon engines are created, and Gravox keeps an eye on the movements of the other traitor forces in the system. Malusior is under the faithful control of the Wordbearers, while Barristan Prime is another Iron Warrior stronghold.
Here we go. Agrippina. This is Asher. The system that I'm about to tell you about is going to be very important in later episodes, okay?
Okay.
Okay, this next one is the Agrippina system. This is the exact opposite of the Bellis Corona system. The Agrippina system is a fortress for the Imperium. The first planet, Ymar, is a world critical to the collection of plasma vapors for weapons. The next planet, Barent, is unfortunately veering too close to the sun, and the Imperium notes that the orbit is critical. One day, this gas giant will crash into the sun of the Agrippina system, but that doesn't stop the Adeptus Mechanicus workers from extracting plasma vapors just like on Ymar. Next is Orax, a fortified mining world, but there's not much left since the planet has been mined down to its core. Imagine that. They started at the crust of the world and mined every layer until they got to the core of the planet.
That's insane.
And that's all that remains. Next up is Morton's Quay. It's an Imperial stronghold and a very important naval base. But the most important planet to the system is Agrippina. This is a forge world of immense proportions. It's probably the most crucial planet to the Imperium in the entire Cadian Gate. This is a manufacturing planet that makes small weapons like autoguns, all the way up to tanks like the Leman Russ Eradicator. Agrippina will be very important later on. Next up is Aurent, which is another Imperial naval base. Kairos is a world used for weapons testing. Now, I don't know what kind of weapons you have that you need a whole planet to test weapons on, but Kairos has been pretty much demolished and desolated by weapons testing. And it's a big planet. And of course, with a forge world in this system, you're going to have a lot of waste. So the small planet Urath is used as a waste world. It's literally just a garbage world, which again just goes into that ridiculousness of 40k. You'll have, endless war, and then you've got, Emperor's Children Pleasure Planet, and then Adeptus Mechanicus, Trash Planet, welcome to Trash Planet. Population U.
That's where I was born.
Urath. The final planet in the system is Narcine, and this is a hive planet that is actually running low on population. And that is because so many of the people living on Narcine have been drafted to either work in the city-sized factories on Agrippina or serve in the Scutari legions for the Adeptus Mechanicus. The Agrippina system is vital to the Cadian Gate more than ever now that Cadia has fallen. And the soldiers of Agrippina are tasked with defending every system in the Cadian Gate and providing materiel for countless other war fronts. And when Cadia did fall, refugees from Cadia came to Agrippina, and the tech priests on the planet were like, "Yay, we'll provide you a place to live. All you have to do, put this hat on real quick." and a lot of the refugees from Cadia were turned into servitors.
It's just those chum bucket helmets.
Yep.
All hail Plankton.
All hail the machine god. A few of the Cadians who did not get turned into servitors, quote unquote, willingly joined the workforces of the factories.
Mm-hmm.
And while that did provide some relief for the workforces, Agrippina is still spread very thin, and it's only a matter of time before someone attacks the vulnerable Forge world.
It's a really interesting concept that a hive world would be lacking in population.
I imagine that there's some Scutari or there's some Adeptus Mechanicus machine that just like goes around kind of like War of the Worlds style and just like picks up people and is like, "You're coming to work at the factory now."
Indentured servitude for you. Indentured servitude for you.
It's just like with the amount of people that they would throw into a hive city, and just with the scale of how planets, just to we have a trash planet, and it's like what kind of the population, what cities and what kind of population of planets would look like with the amount and the size of the universe that exists now, for there one to be just, oh yeah, this is just like the back rooms of essentially.
And to clue you in on like how big these hive cities can be, there are hive cities on worlds with larger populations than Earth.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, because if you think about it, like mathematically, all 8 billion people that live in the world could fit within Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
So now just
no space, but yeah.
So now just multiply that. And brother, you got yourself a hive world.
I love hive cities because they're basically just mountains. They're just mountain high cities.
Yeah, it's Coruscant from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes pretty high up and it goes insanely deep down. So Thracian Primaris is the next system, and it's another system that has found itself on the front lines of a losing battle. The closest celestial body to the sun, designated AE/916, is a stronghold for renegades and pirates. Angelisar is a Death Guard world. Thracian Primaris is a Helican subsector capital, and is heavily fortified. Durst Reach is the next planet, and this is a Neo-Cadian recruiting world. The Night Lords control and torture Elnar Delta. The planet Tantris has been corrupted, and travel there is forbidden. Messina is a fortress world. Finally, the planet of Buyabos is contested between the Black Legion and Alpha Legion.
A lot of musical references in the Thracian Primaris system. Durst's Reach, Messina, just lacking a Loggins. And by a lot of music references, I mean those two. Angelisar, I don't know what's there. AE916. I don't know if you like steak sauce. I guess that's good. All right. Next up. Boo. Boo yourself. Next up is the Gudrun system. And only 5 planets reside in the Gudrun system. Verifold is being invaded by orcs. And this is worrisome because the nearby planet of Kalok is a munitions world. And if you haven't seen a munitions world, go watch Tithes, the series, because you'll see what a munitions world is.
Yeah, I think this is one you showed me, where they land the ships and they're like, hey, oh, thank goodness, reinforcements is here. And they're like, all right, we need the ammo.
Yeah. And then they go to the planet and it's just storage locker heaven. Next is Leitora, but this is a death world and travel there is forbidden. Gudrun is the prime planet there. It is another heavily fortified Neo-Cadian recruiting world. The 5th and final planet in the system is Nahlis, which is a world locked in eternal war. And then, Alex, you take the Chin Chair system.
So the next system, the Chin Chair system, lies within the Chinchare subsector. This is an odd system because the planets orbit a rogue star, so the whole system moves. Because of this, the system has seen its share of strife. The planet Plezerin has been tainted by the warp and is forbidden. Utolian has been taken over and made into a base for the Night Lords. The third planet, designated XU/428, is considered a warp hazard. Chinchare itself is a fortified Imperial holdout. Orthena has been abandoned. The largest planet, Sabatorius, is an industrial world, but the planetary government is working on dealing with cult uprisings. There's a reason for these uprisings, as the nearby planet Vancelle's world is reported to be infested by the Alpha Legion. Secretly, Vancelle's world is being used as the Hydra's vault. Underneath the planet's oceans used to lie an outpost of the Ordo Xenos. This provided the Alpha Legion with a vault of knowledge and command center for future conquest.
So one really interesting thing about the Hydra's vault is this is just a base that the Alpha Legion has, and it's really important to them, but it's also not really important to them. Only a handful of Alpha Legionaries will be there at one time, and it doesn't really have that many defenses. Yet this one spot has like a full collection of all the knowledge that the Alpha Legion has on the Imperium. And it's just here.
Here's all the answers in one place.
I guess it makes it like it doesn't draw attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the base is underwater, so very appropriate for the Alpha Legion.
And if they're not sending like a whole lot there, then it's probably something not that important, I guess, from like an outsider's point of view.
Yeah.
There are a few more systems mentioned in this book within the regions known as the Cadian Gate. Unfortunately, the only information about these systems is that they exist. Nothing more.
These are the Tauros system, just southeast of the Cadian system, the Oladros system, south of Tauros, the Trove system, which is southwest of Oladros and west of the Agrippina system, and finally the Vendara system, located south of Bellis Corona and east of the Agrippina system. And now, it's time for us to look within the Eye of Terror and see what the traitors have done to the planets on the other side of the Cadian Gate, and hope that we emerge sane at the end of this podcast.
First, we have Sikaris. So Sikaris is the new homeworld of the Wordbearers. The second most important world to the Wordbearers is Galmec within the Maelstrom, and we already talked about that one. Sikaris is a massive worship world, teeming with cathedrals to the Chaos Gods. The planet's worship is led by the Dark Council. These are the people in charge of appointing Dark Apostles. Dark Apostles are basically Chaos chaplains. Most important is the Templum Inficio, the personal sanctuary of the demon Primarch Lorgar. He has locked himself away for as long as the Wordbearers can remember. Outside of the cities and cathedrals lie the Corpse Plains, the graveyards for Dark Apostles, which is kind of interesting because they do actually bury the Dark Apostles with like an actual burial ritual. Like they don't just like toss their body and get all their stuff and put it on someone else.
Yeah, so they actually allow these souls of the Dark Apostles to be given up to the Chaos Gods that they have appeased. Or, if they haven't appeased the Chaos Gods enough, their souls just like remain trapped in the Corpse Plains. And another funny thing that the book mentions is if you fail to become a Dark Apostle, the Wordbearers will cut out your eyes and then just make you walk around the Corpse Plains until you starve to death. And all you have to keep you company is the souls of these dead Dark Apostles just like tormenting you for fun.
It's just like the Soul Karn from Skyrim.
Yeah.
Okay, the next planet that we have within the Eye of Terror is Nerakir, and this belongs to the Night Lords. This is a demon world, and actually, funny enough, there was a warp storm called Baphomet that dragged Nerakir into reality. So Nerakir actually reaches the Sentinel worlds, which is the Noctmun Gauntlet. The Nachman Gauntlet is that other passage. It's one of the only passages that we have from the Imperium Sanctus to the Imperium Nihilus. So you've got some Night Lords just bebopping around here. And this whole planet is a graveyard for void ships. Actually, hundreds, if not thousands, of crashed void ships are on this planet. There is a fortress of the Night Lords called the Vile Spar, which is the bastion of Flen's master Zavrik of the Night Lords. Of course, being the Night Lords, being edgy, this is a solid obsidian tower with lightning accents and all sorts of little, spiky towers and, gargoyles hanging from it. Zavrik keeps prisoners chained to this wall, and, he'll just be walking the halls, and he'll be like, a little flesh from you, a little flesh from you. He keeps everybody chained to these walls and screaming, because it just makes his sorcery even more powerful. And when he goes on the hunt, he and his warband, Zavrik's Flayers, love to go to a little city called Skadric Landing. And Skadric Landing is nothing more than the hull of a giant Leagues of Votan vessel that has crashed into the planet. But it's really the only place on the whole planet of Narrakir where mortal people gather and try to make out some sort of life. But of course, if you're a human on a planet, you have the ability to scream. The Night Lords are going to be there to torture you. And so every night, a Night Lord Chaos Space Marine will go out and hunt somebody just for the thrill of it, make them cry, make them puke, make them scream, and then may or may not kill them, or keep them alive on their backpack for some other reason. Night Lords are wild.
They are the most sadistic out of all of them.
They're the blue ones, right?
Yeah, the blue ones, their most recent models that came out were that kill team, and it's just like people covered in flesh, like stretched out flesh across their armor.
Delicious.
They're basically just psychopaths. That's just what they are.
Yeah. But through all the turmoil that they put the denizens of Skadric Landing through, it actually trains the populace to be sneaky and to hide. And of course the Space Marines are going to find them anyway. But if they're able to find somebody and they're like, wow, you did a really good job of hiding, they will recruit them and turn them into a Night Lord. They're like, here's a little gene seed for you. You done good. Next is the Pyrus Nebula. Within the Eye of Terror, this is one of the Black Legion's many strongholds. It's a nebula. It's a cluster of dust clouds that are just within the Eye of Terror. And this was the staging point for Abaddon's Black Crusades. And there are a dozen demon worlds that are within this nebula. And each one has their own demon lord. And long ago, there used to be 13 planets in this nebula. 13. Lucky number 13. The last of them, which used to belong to the Death Guard, was exploded during the Legion War. Which, if you don't know what the Legion War was, all the traitors, they lost the Horus Heresy, they go into the Eye of Terror, and at first order of business, they start killing each other.
It's actually where it's actually, I'm pretty sure that's where Karn got his tag, isn't it? Karn the Betrayer?
Yeah, I think so. This world, which was owned by the Death Guard, was destroyed by Abaddon the Despoiler's fleets and rebuilt into Bassatar, and it is now kind of the recruiting world for the Black Legion. If you want to join the Black Legion, you have to weave your way through this nebula and get to Bassatar, and once you get there, there are more tests, of course. They might just be, hey, go to one of these other 12 planets and survive, and you might just join the Black Legion. Kill a demon champion, Others, you say, hey, I know that you two guys have stuck it through thick and thin to get to Bassatar, but kill each other. The one that survives gets to join the Black Legion. Or it's like, hey, you're a Khorne worshiper. kill this Nurgle worshiper. We'll see who lives and gets to join the Black Legion. Once you get through and you're able to swear yourself to Abaddon, that just means that he has the toughest and strongest soldiers in the galaxy to fight for him.
It's like survival of the fittest kind of thing.
Yes, it's always survival of the fittest when it comes to living in the warp. The last system that we will talk about. Alex, will you talk about Medringard?
Within the Eye of Terror lies the Medringard system, the adoptive homeworld of the traitorous Iron Warriors. Its star is a black sun that actually sucks in light and life.
Key note here, fun fact. If you're just a normal human walking on this planet, if you stay out in the sun too long, you'll just die.
What?
The sun will
What?
literally suck your soul out.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, let me go walk the dog really quick.
Can I get a postcard that says greeting? Hey, postcard that says greetings from Medringard.
It kills you when you open the letter.
Yeah. Anyway, the planet is scoured, save for the demon factories and fortresses. The largest structures on Medringard's surface are the Warsmith fortresses. Each one is a testament to its creator and the countless slaves he had killed to construct it. They pierce the atmosphere and only fall at the hands of other warsmiths, who build even grander displays of might on top of the rubble. The largest fortification is Erezikion, a city-sized fortification filled with millions of slaves, demon engines, and gun emplacements. In the center of Erezikion lies Kolasikon, the sanctuary and strategium of Perturabo, demon primarch of the Iron Warriors. He's been sitting in this place for thousands of years, planning his emergence from the Eye of Terror. The other planet of note in the Medringard system is Pyrifion, a hell forge world. This planet creates demon engines on a scale that rivals the output of even the largest forge worlds.
And it will be these planets that help us with the rest of the lore from this book, which, just so happens to be named Eye of Terror, Reign of Iron. So I wonder who we're going to be talking about next.
I wonder if it's going to involve chaos of some sort. Who knows? I mean, I guess you could say this book has iron within and iron without.
Oh my
All right,
god. So Asher, top 3 places to take a vacation.
Soul sucking, sunbathing.
On Medringard.
Yep. Probably stopping by the ship full of people that are terrorized by just psychotic demons.
Yes, you're going to take a trip to Skadrick Landing.
And then taking a walk by this really big church where this sad big demon dude is moping around inside.
Sakaris.
Yeah.
I love that the book tells us that both Lorgar and Perturabo have just been sitting in silence for thousands of years.
Logar has been attacked by a certain bird warp entity for the past 1,000 years.
Yeah, don't know what's going on right there. Do you know about that, Asher?
No, I have no clue.
Oh, it's the other It's another Primarch.
Hey, do you know the Raven Guard, right?
Rapatap tap. Is this Corvus?
It's Raven, Corvus Corax.
Yeah, he has a little bit of a vendetta against Logar.
So the Primarch of the Raven Guard, Corvus Corax, actually entered the warp on a forever hunt for Lorgar, and has just been in the warp so long that he's kind of been transformed into a bird warp demon that is still loyal to the Imperium.
I've had worse, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't realize he's just plaguing. This bird is rapid tapping on his chamber door.
He is literally the bird at your job.
Oh yeah. It's just he's walking around and getting attacked.
But that's kind of why Logar doesn't want to leave, because he knows that Corax is just gonna get him.
He's just standing there menacingly.
I imagine there's like they have this giant, for some reason, outside of his thing, he's got this giant light post, and there's just this massive hulking demon Primarch sitting on it, just staring at him through the window.
So help me God, the moment you get out here, I'm killing you. Yeah. This was our episode. What'd you think, Asher?
It was really cool. Like I said, it's just a lot of depth, and it's cool to hear about chaos in that isn't just kind of running around inside of a very large storm. Like these guys have like a purpose, and they're going to do something.
Yeah. Alex, what did you think about this episode?
I like this episode. I think this kind of gives a better view of what you can kind of expect from like the heretical legions or the traitor legions of like how they actually function, rather than like the Warband renegades that the like Maelstrom has. Like this is what happens when you have basically legions from the Horus Heresy still functioning.
Yeah, and they have a focus. They have a drive. Thank you, everybody, for listening to our episode on the Eye of Terror. Next week, join us as we talk about the forces that are currently embattled in this region. As always, you can find us on YouTube at Days of Lore. You can subscribe to our channel, and in the video descriptions, you can find a link to our Discord channel. You can follow us on Instagram at Old Days of Lore. And if you have any questions or requests for research, you can email us at olddaysoflore@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.
Iron within, iron without.
Boo!
You're done.
Get him out of here.
Did we ever explain the Chaos Gods?
Nah, we don't need to right now. Do you want to?
Well, I mean, we can basically just explain how Slaanesh works and the concept of the warp, because we mentioned how everything is like a candle, basically. Well,
yeah.
The Chaos Gods tend to feed off of they are non-physical. They do not have a body. They are purely warp related entities, and there's 4 of them. If you don't know, Slaanesh, Nurgle, Khorne, and Tzeentch, and I'm just gonna go through Slaanesh, but they all kind of work the same. They each have a kind of thing that relates to them, like a representation. Slaanesh's, and why we keep emphasizing this, Slaanesh's is excess. So whenever anyone in the physical realm that isn't the warp does something that would be an excess of something, Slaanesh gains power from that. And an excess might not, like, yeah, of course you'll have excess of, like, you know, feeling really good about something, like ecstasy. But then you also have excess of stuff like perfection, or stuff like making the best cake, or, you know, basically anything that would try to go over the top. That kind of feeds Slaanesh, and that's how Eldar, how we talked about their aspects and stuff, because they go so far in one direction, that's an excess. So when they die, that's perfect for Slaanesh, because that's so much power.
Do you understand, Asher?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.